Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Sotah, Perek Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishnah 4. Okay. Eishes Kohen, the wife of a Kohen, who the Kohen warned her not to go into seclusion. She went anyway. She became a Sotah. Shaisa, she drinks. She drinks the bitter water. And if she comes out innocent, umuteras labaila, and she is permitted to her husband. So the Mishnah feels a need to go out of its way to say that we know that if a woman drinks the Sotah water and she's innocent, she's permitted to her husband. The Mishnah felt a need to have to specifically say that by the wife of a Kohen. And the question is why? Why would I have thought the wife of a Kohen should be different? So I'm going to read to you from the notes. The wife of a regular Jew and the wife of a Kohen have different laws. If the wife of a regular Jew cohabits with another man, she becomes forbidden to her husband only if she sinned willingly. That means that if a married woman is raped, she's permitted to her husband. If she commits adultery, she willingly cohabited with another man, she's forbidden to her husband. But if it wasn't willing, then she's not forbidden. But the wife of a Kohen who cohabited with another man is forbidden to her husband, even if she was violated against her will. That's the halacha. That's the halacha. The wife of a Kohen, even if she was coerced, she was violated against her will, she may not go back to her husband who's a Kohen. Therefore, it could have been thought that even if a Kohen's wife survives the test of drinking the bitter water, she should remain prohibited to her husband because she might have been violated. Meaning, you would have thought that being that a woman who was violated, she's the wife of a Kohen who is violated, she can't go back to her husband. So you might think that she drinks the water and she's fine, right? She's fine. All right. But you might think, but maybe the reason why she's fine was because when she was in seclusion, she didn't willingly cohabit with the man, but that he violated her. So the water is not going to do anything to her because she didn't commit adultery. She didn't do anything wrong. The water only affects the woman if she did something wrong. Only if she committed adultery, rather. Yep. But if she didn't commit adultery because she was violated, then it's not going to check her. It's not going to do anything to her. But that doesn't mean that she's permitted to her husband if he's a Kohen. Because if she was violated, then she can't go back to her husband anyway. So the Mishnah is coming to teach you. You might have thought that the wife of the Kohen, even if she survives the water, we can't allow her to go back to her husband because maybe the water didn't do anything to her because she was violated, not because she didn't commit adultery, and therefore the water didn't do anything to her. But maybe she was still violated, and therefore forbidden to her husband. Meaning maybe that's what we should be concerned with. Therefore, the Mishnah says, no, you don't have to be concerned with that. The possibility of that is not as the way they explain it here is the Mishnah teaches that this is too unlikely to be a concern. Thus, even a Kohen's wife is permitted to her husband when she drinks the water. To be concerned that the water didn't check her because she was violated, meaning in seclusion the man did something to her, but the water only checks her, only does anything to her if she did it in a sinful way. If she didn't sin, then water doesn't check her. But if so, maybe she's still forbidden to her husband if he's a Kohen. And the Mishnah is teaching us that concern we don't have to have. If at the end of the day the water didn't check her, to go ahead and say, well, maybe it's because she was violated, that kind of situation we have to be concerned about. Not such a common situation we have to be worried about, and therefore she's allowed to go back to her husband. Okay, that's the first case. The next case, Eishes Sris Shaisa. A Sris is a sterile man. He's sterile, can't have children. The Mishnah says the wife of a Sris, if the woman is married to a Sris, the sterile man, and he warned her not to go into seclusion, and she went into seclusion, she drinks the water. That means, again, the Mishnah finds a need to tell us that the wife of this man drinks the water. Why would I think otherwise? The explanation is that I'll read to you again from the notes, quoting from the Bar Tanura, citing from the Bar Tanura, regarding a Sotah, the Torah states, and a man other than your husband has lain with you. That's part of what the Kohen says to the woman. That if a man other than your husband has lain with you, then the water is going to, have its effects. Now, because the Torah says the words other than your husband, we might have thought that husband means a husband who is a regular husband, a man capable of complete marital relations from which a woman can conceive. Meaning the Torah says a man other than your husband has lain with you, and maybe that husband, the word husband that the Torah talks about, that we say is the one who's going to be bringing her to drink the water, that means a, so to speak, a regular husband, a complete husband, a husband who's able to have complete marital relations and bear children. Therefore, the Mishnah says, no, it's not that way. It's she does drink, and the whole process goes through. Just that the Mishnah was telling you, you might have thought otherwise. So the Mishnah says it's not that way. You might have thought that when the Torah talks about husband, that husband, and it says a man that you again, and a man other than your husband has lain with you, that husband that we're referring to, that other than your husband has lain with you, that the husband means a husband that has a regular husband, he can have children, he can have a complete marital relations. That's what we would have thought the Torah is trying to say with that word. And then the Mishnah says, no, it's not. And therefore, the facts are that he is her husband, and therefore she does drink. Next, al yedei kol arayos mekanin. A husband can warn his wife not to go into seclusion with any of the arayos. That means the arayos are the close relatives that a woman may not cohabit with. A brother, a father, etc. Those are the arayos. The relatives that because of the relatives that that a woman may not cohabit with. So now, if let's say a husband says to this woman, do not go into seclusion with your brother. Right? Now the brother she can't marry anyway. She can't marry him. But he says, do not go into seclusion with your brother. The Mishnah says that is a good kinoi. That's a warning. And if she goes into seclusion, she's going to become forbidden to her husband, and he's gonna and she's gonna drink the water. Again, why would I think differently? Why would I think that in the case of a close relative, it should be different? And the answer is that the rule is like this. A woman who becomes a Sotah, as we said, the husband warned her not to go to seclusion, she went to seclusion, and she's usher to her husband, right? And we've said that let's say she doesn't end up drinking, she remains usher to her husband, right? The halacha is that not only is she forbidden to her husband, she's actually forbidden to the man who was suspected of sinning with her. Meaning that man that the husband warned not to go into seclusion, and she did go into seclusion, who we suspect that maybe he cohabited with her, he's forbidden to her also. That's the rule. She's forbidden to her husband, and she's forbidden to the person who we suspect committed adultery with her. And in a situation where a woman actually commits adultery, she's forbidden to her husband, and when the husband divorces her, she can't go marry the guy that she cohabited with. She's forbidden to him also. So being that we have this halacha of echel abal, echel aboya, which means she's forbidden both to the husband and to the person who is suspected of cohabiting with her, you might have thought that the only time the whole law of Sotah applies is by a person. Read it to you. One might have thought that the Sotah laws are limited to where she is forbidden to the other man only because she is a Sotah, and not where she is forbidden to him in any event. Meaning this rule, she's forbidden to the husband and to the man. You might have thought that idea teaches us that the law of Sotah applies to someone who because she became a Sotah, she's forbidden to her husband and to the person who's suspect. Okay? But you might have thought that maybe it doesn't apply to where the person who's suspect of cohabiting with her, she's forbidden to that person anyway, because that person is an erva. The person is forbidden a relative.
Yeah,
Therefore,
it was my question.
Therefore, the Mishnah says that even though she's anyway forbidden to the relative, the law of Sotah still applies to her. So even though this idea of being forbidden to both of them because she's a Sotah doesn't apply to the erva because she was already forbidden to him, nonetheless, it does not go ahead and take away the whole law of Sotah from her, and therefore he can warn her not to go into seclusion with a close relative, and the whole process will go into effect. From whom, if he goes and he warns her, will she not become a Sotah? Says the Mishnah, chutz min hakotan. If the husband warns her not to go into seclusion with a minor, let me read to you what that means. Okay, it basically that when the Torah says talks about a man may have lain with her, that excludes. It says a man, a man. That excludes a boy under the age of 13 who is not yet legally a man. Okay, and that's number one. Chutz min hakatan. It excludes a katan. So if he warns her from a katan, it doesn't do anything. Umimisha and ish, and from someone that's not a person. That means from an animal. He warns her not to go exclusion with an animal. And she does it anyway. Now, we know there is such a thing called bestiality, unfortunately. Okay? But at the same time, from the fact that the Torah says that the Torah talks about a man may have lain with her, a man means someone who's legally a man and someone who's actually a man, not an animal. Now, however, if the boy is at least 9 years old, being alone with him renders her forbidden to her husband, and the rest excludes her only from drinking the water. This is very interesting. When we say here regarding the boy, regarding the minor, that if he's that the kinui, that if that we say you can be mekana for all arayas, you can warn for all arayas except for a minor. So we're saying that except for a minor means a minor under bar mitzvah, but it's not 100% like it. But there's a difference. A boy who is already 9 years old, halachically is considered that his sexual act is considered an act. And therefore, if a boy of 9 years old were cohabit with a married woman, she'd become forbidden to her husband because she cohabited with someone other than her husband. If, let's say, it was less than 9, the act is considered nothing. Now, here they add that if the husband warns her not to go into seclusion with a minor who's already 9 years old, so she won't drink because of that, but she'll become forbidden. So that's a distinction here. I don't think that applies the same thing by the animal. They don't bring it down by the animal. When the Mishna says there's no warning, so that's the warning. Warning can take place by all the close relatives except for a minor. So warning here doesn't mean when we say there's no kini from the katan, and we're saying it means below bar mitzvah, that it only means to the point that she won't drink. But if the katan is 9 years old, then the warning and she goes to seclusion with him will forbid her to her husband. She'll have to become divorced because there's no drinking in that situation. And if the katan is even less than 9 years old, then the whole warning is meaningless. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.